A lot of people practice burning sage only knowing the product of thought, not the way of thinking. And that poses some real ethical but also philosophical problems. White sage burning has been used across indigenous communities, largely in closed ceremonies. And closed ceremonies means that only people invited into this spiritual tradition practice in this way. And by the product of thought being something that's been proliferated, the way of thinking about burning sage has been completely lost. Just because you're practicing something that's used in a closed practice doesn't mean you fully understand the extent of this closed practice. But you are practicing something that you should be invited into when you haven't been. Unless you have been. Maybe you have been. I don't know. But I haven't been. And for that reason, when I learned this, decided to stop using sage in my spiritual practices. Smudging specifically is a term used for these spiritual practices. So there's a difference between burning sage and smudging. And there's also a difference between practicing something spiritually out of deep respect, connection, and invitation, and imitation uninformed. Just because I don't choose to practice the product of thought of burning sage anymore doesn't mean that I've abandoned the way of thinking that is behind the conclusion of burning sage. The way of thinking behind burning sage being to clear your space, to shake out the spiritual cobwebs. What are other things that make me think of clearing things out to generate this calm, peaceful, clean air? Eucalyptus is known for its medicinal properties, can clear your sinus passages, and eucalyptus teas, eucalyptus essential oils are all used for purifying things. So I've started integrating eucalyptus into my practice as a way to cleanse and purify. My product of thought was tied to one way of thinking. But because I didn't fully understand that way of thinking, the product of thought was unethical. But when I fully understood all of the way of thinking around it, I can disconnect the way of thinking that does work for my ethical beliefs and for my spiritual practices to reach a new product of thought that works for my ethics, my philosophy, my spirituality, and sheds the inappropriate piece of that product of thought.